So for those of you guys who just came in, this is Sko. He's one of the longtime subscribers and viewers. We watched the Korean broadcast of the Dimensional Hole. That's him in chat right there. And he basically translated the whole thing and wrote it out for us. So we're kind of going through and talking about it right now. So if you guys are wondering what we're doing, that's what's going on here. Okay. So you wanted to say things?
Yes. So a few things that they mentioned. I wrote it in the things, but
let me open that really quick. Give me 1 second.
Okay.
Let me download this and open it.
The only error that was in the entire thing was the names, because they did mention later on that there was a Karzan and an Eludia. I mean, the spelling is wrong.
Elunia or whatever. Yeah.
Elunia, yeah. But they didn't say what is what. I'm guessing they're both in the Roaring Beast Forest.
Probably.
I don't know. It doesn't make sense in terms of the name, but they went through exactly what certain second awakening skills are. That's not that very important, but I was telling you why Rauk is broken, because one of them is actually when he defeats an enemy, he gains a turn. His cooldown is reset as well, and his team up attacks with 2 other units. First of all, that's kind of ridiculous, but yes. But that wasn't the big thing that I wanted to talk about. That's just normal.
Okay, I have your notes up on the stream, so.
Okay, yep. One of the things that they mentioned is the Second Awakening dungeon. People were asking around how many times will it take. They said at the hardest difficulty level, it takes around 100 successful victory rounds to secondary awaken a monster. How it works is every time you beat the stage, that monster that you're bringing in will gain an awakening EXP. And whenever this is filled, it will automatically secondary awaken. And they're saying it will take around 100 times. That's one of the big things. Another one is, along with that, when you are going into the secondary awakening dungeon, some of the rewards that come is, they called it a zero item type. So basically materials. You'll be gaining ancient magic orbs and ancient magic stones is what I translated to.
Okay, and what are those for?
This is used to craft ancient runes and ancient reaps.
Okay.
So you can reap the ancient runes.
Okay, but
now,
keep in mind, chat. Even though all of these things are drops, they will be very hard gated by how many times you can enter. We do know that we get 1 energy every 2 hours, which means 12 energy per day.
So yeah, I was talking about the ancient rune and the ancient rune crafting and then ancient reap crafting. So the ancient reap crafting will be limited by time, like the other,
like current
the free play. Yes, current reaps. The ancient runes actually will be unlimited. If you can get enough materials.
So you're limited by how much you can actually farm in terms of the limitation of entry.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yes. Also, another thing is confirmed. The monsters that have secondary awakened forms are Fairy, Pixie, Hellhound, and Inugamis.
All elements?
They are completely. Excuse me.
All elements.
Yes, all elements. These ones are already done. They are finished with these 4 families basically.
Wow.
I don't know if they're going to release it all at once or whatever, but these 4 are confirmed and they are done. They are trying to add in more. They're definitely trying to target the Nat 2s and the Nat 3s that people used to use when Arena was first like starting up and things like that, basically.
I see. Okay.
Yes. Also, I just wanted to mention one more time. They said and confirmed that a violent ancient rune will not happen.
Okay.
They will not put it into the game.
But Swift may exist.
Swift, they didn't talk about it.
Okay.
Actually.
So it's still up for speculation. So violent is confirmed to not exist. So there will be no bonus extra strong violent runes.
Yes. They also hinted that this energy, yes, it says it kind of. It's not refillable, but they're kind of very like, what is it? Like they're kind of firm on that. They don't want this to become a pay to win content where you can just refill unlimited amount of times. They don't want any of that. So it will not be refillable. with any kind of like monetary things.
Okay, cool. Maybe they'll have
Mhm.
like event ones where it's like, an event reward is now like 15 extra energy to the dimensional
Yes,
hole or
so
something. That would be cool. I think that would
they
be
did hint
fine.
at that there will be special things where you can possibly get more, but it will not be something that you can pay money for.
Okay, cool. Guys, can we get a pog and a clap in chat for Comtuous? Comtuous being a good guy. Looking out for all the free to play, cheap to play, casual players. Looking out for us, guys. That's a pog. That is a pog for sure. Are the energy costs for a new dungeon one per victory or one per attempt? Ooh, I don't know about that.
One per attempt.
One per attempt.
Yes.
Oh, that's
Is
scary.
what they said. Because they say when you go into fight, so I do a lot of language work, so actual wording will be when you enter fight is the wording. So when you go into the fight is what I'm thinking.
Okay. So we'll see. It could change. We don't know. But that's kind of cool.
It's one use per fight, actually.
Per difficulty? Does the difficulty change it at all?
The difficulty doesn't matter. It says one per fight. It doesn't
One
matter.
per fight. Okay.
Yeah.
So you can enter 12 times a day maximum. 12 times a day. It's not that bad. That's not that bad at all. 84 a week? 52 weeks in a year?
No, I think it's a great step, especially
Seems
since
pretty limited.
right now at the moment, other than maybe a will rune, it's more PvE focused, which helps all the people. The secondary awakening, it is very, very good because they gain extra skills, or like extra awakening skills, and on top of that, the overall stats will be right between a nat 4 and a nat 5.
Oh, that's really nice. So they're upgrading stats. Are they giving them... So in these second awakenings, are they gaining any awakenings like, like 25% accuracy or 15% 15% speed or 15 speed or anything like that, or 15% crit?
They haven't mentioned any of that. It is possible as they continue, especially some of the nat 2s that are very, very slow, but they only mentioned the things about stronger skills. And when they mentioned about stronger skills, it seemed like they were doing awakened skill for all of their skills, not just one. Usually when you have an awakening,
Yeah, it's just
you
one
have a
skill if
skill
it's
1,
anything.
or like a stronger, or like a skill 3. This one, they all got stronger. And I think they want to make sure it's like that because it's 100 runs at the hardest level to awaken one of these.
Yeah,
So,
I assume that's the way it is, Fantorn. Using one ancient rune and one normal rune set to complete a set. I would assume that is how it works, because it's not like it's an ancient Swift set, right? It's a Swift set. It's just an ancient rune and a non-ancient rune.
I'm not really sure about that. So I wrote somewhere.
Did they mention anything about fusible secondary awakenings or nat 5s? No, only nat 2s and nat 3s. Only nat 2s and nat 3s.
Maybe I cleaned it up here. So the wording that they used was this. They said the ancient runes, because people were kind of going crazy when they saw that the rolls were between 6 and 10 instead of like a normal 5 and 8. They said that the ancient rune is similar to how when we have a innate rune, it has a specialty name. Like it says quick something for a speed innate, or like something like that. They say it's basically the same thing.
So
The
it's just like getting an
ancient
extra
rune,
bonus to it.
yeah. So it's an extra bonus to it.
Okay.
As in, I think, as you said, it is treated just like a normal. Let's say if it's a fatal. There's no fatal, is there?
So
a normal rage rune.
And the reason I would
Yes.
go to assume that is because in the developer note, it just lists them as certain sets, right? It doesn't list them as like a specified difference in the set. It just says, rage, guard, energy, blah, blah, blah. So I think that's something we could safely assume.
Yes, I think so too, because like we said, I said before, when a rune has a innate, it gains a specialty title. I think that's what they're trying to use. That title is ancient, and that ancient title allows it to have the extra stats, like before you roll it, basically.
I see.
Mhm.
Okay. Next question. Are these secondary awakening units limited by content? Can we only use them in certain places? Or
They
can we
didn't say
use them?
anything about that, and I'm from the vibe of everything, they want you to use
them
them everywhere, which
Okay.
is the reason why they're targeting the Nat 2s and Nat 3s.
That would make sense, especially when they mentioned RTA. Like, if they mention PvP content, it's probably because they want to change this idea of the current meta. They have higher starting rolls. However, they're like what you can roll is the same as a normal 6-star rune. So you can have a 7-speed starting roll, but you can only roll 6 speed per attempt. This by no means breaks the game. And the reason I say that is because you can only get a couple extra stats on these runes. However, what they're doing is they're adding this ability for a reincarnation of 2 and 3-star units to be viable in the meta. They're basically, instead of adding new units to the game, what they have instead done now is they have said, hey, we've kind of run out of ideas for how to build brand new units. And instead of just combining a whole bunch of old units and then obsoleting them, what we'll do instead is we will take old units that we already have in the game that used to be very good, and we will give them a potential to be buffed so that they become usable and they may have the potential to shake up the meta.
Reiterate one more time. Ancient runes are not separate runes. They, just like how normal rune sets have specialty names when they have an innate.
Yeah, so if you have an innate
Ancient
speed,
runes,
it's a quick rune, for example.
Exactly. Or a crit damage innate is a cruel rune. That's what ancient runes are. They are normal runes, except they have the name ancient in front of it, which allows the very initial starting rolls to be higher. Any additional rolls that you will be doing through power-ups will be exactly the same. And yes, the grinds, you can only use the ancient grinds and ancient gems, which have slightly higher value than the standard grinds and gems. But other than that, any additional rolls that you get through power-ups are exactly same as
a regular rune. Okay, yes. I do have a question for you though. Can the ancient runes have innate stats? Thank you. You reminded me. I forgot what my question was.
They did not say, but they were explaining it as I explained it before, where, innate runes have a specialty name. So that's.
I mean, they could very well just make it like an ancient quick rune. Or an ancient.
Yeah, it could be like an ancient quick despair rune. You're right, it can. But they didn't mention any of that, if it has innate or not.
Okay.
We'll just have to see.
Interesting. Okay, is there anything else that you wanted to talk about right now from the notes that you took?
No, that's basically all of it. I just wanted to, basically go over the 100 victories at the hardest stage for the Awakening, as well as the one very, very crucial thing that they didn't mention, which is the Ancient Magic Orb and the Ancient Magic Stone in order to craft the Ancient Runes and the Ancient Reaps. And then, yeah, those two, and then the fact that when you do a secondary awakening, their overall stats will be equivalent to right between a Nat 4 and a Nat 5. Okay. Those are the big three things that they didn't mention at all in the developer notes that they talked about during the actual conference.
So to recap, the secondary awakening units, first of all, will be extremely hard to farm. They were saying that it will be approximately 100 runs of the hardest difficulty to clear to get the secondary awakening, and that the approximate difficulty is, I view this down here, easy is considered like Kairos B3 to 4, and then the hardest difficulty will be harder than Kairos Dungeon. With the mechanics that they've shown us from how the bosses and their skills interact, it does not look like easy content, but that is also based on the, what we don't know, however, is the base stats of the bosses themselves.
Also, one thing that they mentioned, so this part with the difficulty, they were mentioning more toward not the Awakening dungeon, but the Roaring Beast dungeon of like Karzan and Ilunia, whatever. That's what they were saying. They didn't exactly say how hard the Awakening dungeons are, but both of them have. Yeah, both of them have 5 stages of difficulty.
So twins won't be able to free clear it on all of them because every single dungeon has its own different limitations. So you will be able to use twins for some things, but not for everything. So I think the first dungeon they mentioned in Karzan, the limitation is no 5 stars, and the limitation for Ilunia is everything has to be mono elements. So keep that in mind. You do have to follow specific rules, and it may make things a lot harder. They may also just make it even harder, or say no twins, right? They could do what they did with TOA or with Lab, where it's, you can't use twins on the bosses. But there are a lot of opportunities, a lot of options. I really do urge you guys to be more optimistic about the opportunity, especially with new content here. This is huge. This is like the massive update we've been waiting for. And I really, really do urge you guys to stay optimistic and be willing to give it a try. Be open about it. Please be open about it. Also, I do really appreciate your time, Sco. Thank you very much for doing this, for translating all this and coming into Discord and helping us.